Hey, it's Dwight DePalma with Diamond Maker, just giving you a rundown on SpOiled Illustrated, a new set of templates we're putting out as Friday freebies, extended over the weekend for the great birth of our nation, doing 3 days of freebies instead of just on Friday. So there's 10 layered graphics, all editable in Adobe Photoshop, or if you prefer Pixlr editor, although it's a cheap ripoff and Adobe's only $10 a month, so I encourage you to pick up the real tool. I'll show you the differences between those two as we go through here. And let me just get started. So there are a couple things that to keep in mind with graphics. There are 4 main components here to make your stuff look amazing. So first off, there's great photo backgrounds or great illustrations. You get those off a company like Big Stock. Second, solid font combinations and colors that go with those fonts. So artistic color is key. I'm going to show you how to do that. Even if you're colorblind, we can get that working for you. And last, short emotional messages. Memorable, create curiosity. Don't try to tell a book story. Just get your message out there, get people excited, and let them private message you because they're curious. Okay, so graphic source and editing. There's Pixlr, which we'll walk through a little bit today. Cheap, free. Adobe Photoshop, $10 a month. These are both very powerful tools, and they're professional grade, at least the skills. Pixabay, which is a lot of free, 410,000 photos. Big Stock Photo, which is where we got the graphics you'll be looking at today, and Graphic Stock. There's free trials for those that are on the webpage and the blog. You can click on those links and get free access for a week. Big Stock, you can get 100 free images from them. Okay. So from a font standpoint, there's 4 different kinds of fonts. Serif fonts, sans serif fonts, which these are great body fonts for a longer message. And then there's these ornate fonts like script fonts and decorative fonts. So those are the ones you use for headlines, and you can see they're pretty. You want to use those in a limited amount, but they're what you want to take your main message. All right, so that's an overview. Let's get down to business here. If you take a look at the blog, SpOiled Illustrated, you can get out there. There's all 10 of these images out there, and then in the Facebook group, we have the source for those images in PSD files, layered images, blanks you can put your own message on, or editable in Photoshop, so you can replace these what she's saying here. These have you can use them as is, drop in your logo anywhere on here or your member information, and modify these to fit your own personality and your own message. So those are all out there on the blog. So if you go to diamondmakers.rocks, SpOiled Illustrated blog post, you'll see where those all of those different images, and then there's links there where you can get to the group to download the source files. All right, so I've got one of these images up here. This is the my new coworkers are the best. Ask me about the 4-year career. This is what it looks like when you load it up in Pixlr. And then the same image, this is what it looks like when you load it up in Photoshop. So you see there's layers here. So over here on the side, you've got layers where I can turn on and off the text in the bubbles. I can turn on and off, these texts. And then now when it comes into Pixlr, since it's a low-end tool and it's a free tool on the web, it tries to emulate Photoshop quite a lot, but it's nowhere near as sophisticated. So when it comes in, you'll notice that the text, while it's editable here, if I click on this, I can just edit the text in Photoshop, type in whatever I want, keep the font styling. So I could type in anything here, to put an exclamation point at the end here or something. Bang! You'll notice it moved over, and this outline around the font, it's one of the styles in Adobe Photoshop. So you can manipulate those styles. Very, very powerful way to manipulate those styles. That one's called stroke. It's an outline, 3 pixels of white, helps it stand out against the background. So pretty sophisticated way to deal with text in Adobe. If we look at the same image in Pixlr, it comes in and it loads it up just fine. Now these, you can turn on and off these layers, same sort of setup here. Pixlr tries to look a lot like Photoshop. So if you're playing around with this free tool just to get your feet wet, the skills you learn here and how you work these different tools and the layers, etc., is going to translate into the higher end tools that you do for Photoshop. So really good place to start. PicMonkey is also a great tool, but it doesn't scale up. So the skills you learn in PicMonkey, you're really stuck with that tool. Whereas if you're using Pixlr, then you can upgrade to Photoshop, get your feet wet, and then use a professional tool. And there's nothing you can't do in Photoshop. And if you're working with professional designers, etc., a lot of all the files that are going to be shared here on Diamond Maker are going to be in Photoshop format. So it'll you can take a look at that. Okay, so there's that ask me about the 4-year career. Now you'll notice this text is not editable. So when it brings it in from the Photoshop file, it renders that text and makes it pixels. So you can still turn it off, put your own message in. So if you wanted to put some words in her mouth, it's easy enough to do. You turn that off. You can't edit that text, but you can go over here with the text editor, click here and type in, maybe I'm leaving a legacy. This tool here, which is to move things around. Not bad, but I need to edit that a little bit. Now the text that you type in here is editable. So if you go back to the text tool and you click on it, you can edit this. And maybe we'll just put another carriage return in here. And maybe that font's just a little bit big. We're going to scale that down a little bit. Something like that. And then the color, you'll notice black is pretty harsh here. So I've chosen a color that was more like gray. You get this great little color picker tool, so you can just pick that color and say, bang, I'm going to match that color. Same thing in Photoshop. So something like that. Maybe we want to center that text as well. Let's go ahead and center that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So now you've put your own message in, and bang, you're up and running. Okay, so you can save that out onto your hard drive, and when you save it out, in this case, we can save it out as a JPEG, which is great. You can also save it out. The thing with the JPEG is it will flatten all these layers because JPEGs don't have layers in them. So the best thing to save it out if you're going to edit it later is you can save a JPEG if you want to put it on the internet right now, but go ahead and save one in the layered pixel image format as well. And when you do that, you're going to get all those layers preserved, and you can edit it later, put different messages on there, make her say something else later. So I'll go ahead and save that out, and now I've got this new one saved out in that format. So there's the free editor. Let's switch over to Photoshop a little bit. Now with Photoshop, it's quite a bit easier, and I have a lot more flexibility. So the shape is another thing that gets rendered inside Pixlr, but it's an active thing where you can change it in Photoshop. So if I hit or do an edit and transform here, and let's say I want to scale this bubble, right? So maybe I want her to say something longer, and I want to just make that a little bit bigger, and then I can scale that around. I can change this, move it around a little bit. See, it's also helping me to line things up. You drop in your member number, whatever you want to do, and then here you can just modify this text however you'd like. So a lot easier to do in Photoshop, a lot more versatile, and you know, you can shorten the message, expand the message. You can create, let me see, paragraphs. Let me just show you how to change the fonts here. Get this little palette for paragraph. And font usage, change the character down to, say, 24 point. I can put more stuff in there. And I'll change these to auto, so it'll, yeah, you get the idea. So, a lot more font control here as well with Photoshop. Yeah, I can manipulate that. I can change the message, save it out. And then the PSD file you can save, and then you can also export to a lot of different formats. So when you save as from Photoshop, you have a whole stream of different formats, everything from JPEGs to PNGs, all sorts of formats that you can use for all different sorts of purposes. So very, very versatile. Okay, so that's how you edit one of these images. And again, it's the most flexible way is to bring it up in Photoshop, and then you can manipulate all of these elements because none of them are rendered; they're all native when you're inside Photoshop. But Pixlr will get you by in a pinch, and it is free. So, okay, so let's take a quick look at some of these other images. So I've left space here for you to put in your logo or your member number, maybe a call to action. Again, one of the main things here is to keep it simple, right? Keep it short. You can see here it's, you know, hey, so what if I wall my feet? I'm sleeping like a baby and so is he. Now, I didn't say that lavender cures insomnia. I didn't say that, you know, sleep essence is great for, you know, people who, you know, whatever. I didn't say anything, any kind of claim, any kind of whatever. This is just, you know, hey, I'm sleeping, he's sleeping, and who doesn't want that when you're a new dad, right? You know, you don't have to make these claims. This is more emotionally compelling, and your audience is plenty smart enough to see what's inferred and ask you, hey, well, what are you doing? You know, does it actually help with sleep? What helps with sleep? Let them ask you the questions, and then you can deal with them one-on-one instead of some public forum where you're trying to, you know, promote something, and you might get in trouble for linking it to something that could be considered some sort of health claim or some sort of disease claim, which we all know is, you know, big trouble right now. That being said, there's really no reason to do that. And if you look at the TV commercials and stuff, people aren't they don't spend a lot of time telling you all about how their beer was brewed, exactly what the health benefits are, or how it's excellent, for inebriation. That's not how they sell beer. They have a commercial. It's emotionally moving, and they have these ugly guys who are suddenly very fun, and they're in a great environment, and they're total chick magnets, all because of Bud Light. So they just slap their logo on the end, create an emotional experience, and that sells a whole lot of product. We can do the same with essential oils, and it's going to be far more effective and far easier to do and far more fun than trying to become an absolute expert at everything in the EODR and trying to make a bunch of claims that get us in trouble with the FDA. So this is another kind of flavor here. You've got the health food store lady, a very good credible source. All the oils are about the same. They just come in different flavors, right? It's only $7.99. That's a great deal. However, she may not be the most credible source for essential oils, since clearly she's maybe not the sharpest tool in the shed. So you can modify these. One thing to note is the fonts. So I'll get to fonts here in a little bit. I'll make some posts about where to get fonts. There's a couple things to consider. So when you pop this puppy up, you can see this is Charlemagne font. Now this font did not come with the computer, so you may or may not have this particular font, right? So if you're missing it, I'll tell you where to get those. Google has an amazing set of free fonts that you can download. There's something called Sky Fonts that we'll get into a little bit here as well. You can see it right here on my screen. Sky Fonts automatically installs the fonts for you. You can quickly click on any of these sources like Google Fonts, say find a font, and it'll fire up Google, pop you over there, and let you immediately search for. All right, so hundreds and hundreds of fonts to choose from, every conceivable size. You click on one of these, you download it right away from Sky Fonts. So if I want that one, really nice bold font, I can click on that and it will download it straight away. I can add that entire family of font, click add, and that's all there is to it. You'll see my little guy up here is going to run, and that's it. I just installed that font. It was free, and there you go, 14 fonts installed, and now I have that Algeria typeface, and I can use it at will. So again, Google Fonts, amazing. Fonts.com is very good as well. Lots and lots of free fonts, and very easy to share with your team. So that's the font side of things. Okay, let's talk about color for just a second. So color is really, really important, and most people pick really ugly color combinations. Now there's an actual science to color. It's really pretty straightforward. Now if you go to graphic arts school, you learn about the color wheel, you learn about complementary colors. Complementary colors are on the opposite side of the color wheel from where the color you're picking. There are also some really great tools out there where you can take an image, start with an image that you've downloaded from Big Stock, somewhere like that, and then you can pick that image, upload it to something called Pictaculus, and that will take that image, analyze it, and pull out the colors in that image. And now you have a great color palette. Any of these colors is going to look great with this image, really blend in and look super. There's another tool, which is color.adobe.com. And you can pick an individual color here. So you can take this color, this green color, let's say I really like that color, I'm going to use that as my base, and you can take that little hex code right there, copy that number, and that code tells the computer out of 16 million possible colors which one this green is. You can take that and paste it into a tool like color.adobe.com, and then you can pick a type of color model. This one's called Triad. So it takes the color that you have, this green color right here, and then it picks colors that are about 6 degrees separated from it, right? And those colors are going to look great as complementary colors, right? So here I've got a purple that's going to look good. I've got this light green set of browns. So these are great colors that go with that. You'll see that when we do the images for the essential oils, so our templates, we take the color from the label for the essential oils, we plop it in here, and then we get some great colors to go with it, and that's how we pick the colors that look really, really good with that oil on that particular slide. There's 5 or 6 different color models there. This one's called Triad. You'll see a couple more here. That one's called Compound. You can see it's picking from different places on the wheel. and this one is called monochromatic. So here you can get some great colors that are in a monochrome theme. They're all different shades of the same complementary to that green, and they'll also look great in more of a monochrome format. So again, the two tools are upload your picture to Pictaculous, get your palette from there, and you can also pick any color and paste it into adobe.color.com, and that will, or color.adobe.com, and that will give you some really great options without you having to think about it. Works great every time, no thinking required, and you'll look like a pro. All right, so let's take a look at that real quick. So if I get over here to Pictaculous, I've taken this image that we just had and I've uploaded it to Pictaculous. Let me just walk you through how to do that real quick. So I'll browse for the image. I will pick one of these, my new coworkers here, so you can see that's this one that we're working on. I'm going to say open that, and then I'm going to say get my palette. It'll think for a minute, it'll analyze the image, and then it'll pull out the right colors for you to use. So there's a gorgeous palette, and you'll see that gray that I'm using for the text is right there in that palette, right? So any of these colors is going to look good. And then you can also say, okay, I want something a little more, I want to go with this pink, right? Maybe it's a chick thing, and I want to go, you know, I'll start with that pink and go from there, right? So here I've got this pink. I'm going to paste that in right there and hit enter. And now I've got any of these palettes here. There's a compound palette. So you start with that pink. You've got a nice green that's complementary, some kind of brownish that's complementary. Maybe I want different shades of that pink, so some subtle changes for different areas. Maybe I want to do a compound or a triad like we were looking at earlier. So the triad pulls out these nice blues. So it's taking these positions on the color wheel and it's doing all the thinking for you, applying great color theory without you having to know about. This one's called monochromatic, and that's that monochrome, nice and subtle set of colors. So again, the tools are Pictaculous. Upload your image. You can take any image off your hard drive, or you can download it off the web or whatever. Let's say this will make your escape, which is a nice, lush, gorgeous place that anyone would want to be. And we'll say get my palette from that. It'll grind around on the image. And bang. So from that image, it's pulled out these great set of colors. And if I decide, you know, I think I want it to be a little bit more, I want to use this kind of little teal color there, I can paste that into the color tool from Adobe. And bang, there's my monochromatic for that. There's my complementary colors. There's my compound look. So maybe I just want to do shades of that color. So two great cool tools that make you look like an absolute pro, and not a lot of effort going in there. So backing up and summarizing, we've gone through fonts, colors, as well as you know, how to get the fonts, how to get the colors, and where to get the images, right? So next up at some point we'll talk about how to do the messages, and there's a more complete class that will be available here in about a week or so on diamondmakers.rocks, and we're going to have some fully blown tutorials. This will be a 7-part series on the science of getting your message across in a compliant and compelling way that your people will definitely respond to. Let me just summarize here. Four key elements to design. Great photo backgrounds, you know where to get those. Fantastic font combinations, really solid, big typefaces, nice body text, artistic looking color, we showed you how to do that, and short emotional messages, which I'll save for another time, but you get the point. Don't go into a lot of detail, don't tell a whole lot of story, just be memorable, create curiosity, and save it for the follow-up conversation. All right, guys, that's it. Diamondmaker.rocks. Go see us on the blog, and hope you guys are having a great, great day. See ya.